Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for High Velocity Radio.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of High Velocity Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today we have with us JT with LendCo. Welcome, JT.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me, Lee.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us a little bit about LendCo. How are you serving folks?
Yeah, LendCo was born out of frustrating commercial loan process. So I found over the last 4 years of brokering commercial loans, it was very difficult. Small businesses with the capital they need to survive and to thrive, especially in the current economic environment. But LendCo process, it's an online platform driven by AI and powerful algorithms that with deep learning and the short version is we should be able to fund loans 50% faster and get the capital into the hands of these small businesses that need it.
So now, what is, just for people who aren't familiar, what's kind of the success rate if somebody, a small business person, goes to a traditional lender and says, hey, I'm up for a loan? Is that 50-50 they get the loan? Like, what are the kind of the average rates of a small business owner getting a loan traditionally?
Well, it's actually much worse than that. So if you're a small business and you go into the bank, 9 out of 10 times you're getting turned down.
9 out of 10. So only like 1 out of 10 gets funding?
Yes, from the bank. Now, a handful of those will get referred to a broker like LendCo or a more traditional broker, and they'll go to the secondary market, and then those ones that get to the secondary loan market will get probably 5 out of 10 of those that get to that market get funded. Now, the majority of those 9 out of 10 that are walking away from the bank just assume that they can't qualify for a loan.
Now, what you hear a lot about the Small Business Association, and there's SBA loans, and there's all this money to be had. Is that just not accurate, or is it too cumbersome to go through that process? Like, why aren't people tapping into all this money available from the Small Business Association?
That's an excellent question, Lee. And a lot of people do loans through the SBA. One of the things that makes it a very long and tedious process is, especially right now, they're so overwhelmed with the Paycheck Protection Program and all of those things. If you do end up going through the SBA, they have a lot of really strange nuances that'll keep you from getting the loan, but you'll run through that process for 9 months before they turn you down.
So it takes a lot longer when you're going through that route.
It does take longer. A lot of times you end up with the same result. I would say 4 out of 10 loans that I'm referred have actually gone down that SBA route before they get referred to me.
So now the folks that are coming to you, is this something where they're having to kind of fund it through their own sales? Like, what are you looking for when you're vetting these potential loans?
Yeah, so on the secondary market, there's a lot more opportunity for us to use non-traditional assets. So a lot of times when we talk about assets, or the bank talks about assets, they're, as far as the business is concerned, they're talking about equipment and maybe real estate. A lot of times they don't do any of the accounts receivable or any of those things that we consider assets at the bank until it gets to a much larger number. And those are usually bigger companies that are getting those approved through the bank. But the secondary market was created to service those smaller volume companies, those small businesses that are really in need of the capital and can't wait 9 months to have it, access to it.
So now the loans that you're talking about then, if it's based on kind of receivables, is it something that's a few $1,000s, or can it be a larger amount than that?
Yeah, it usually starts at $10,000 or $20,000 on the low end, and will go all the way up through 10 or 15 million, depending on what the business does. What we saw a lot of during COVID was the personal protective equipment. These companies had access to it and to distribute it, but had to spend incredible amounts of capital to acquire that product and then resell it, which they didn't have any problem reselling it. So we were able to finance several companies in purchasing that product so that they could make those and realize those profits.
So now what's the process look like when they're working through your firm? Is it something that can be done online, or is it something you have to go somewhere, have a conversation on the phone or a Zoom call?
Yeah, so currently we haven't launched our beta. Our beta version of the platform will be launching in August. And until then, we're a traditional broker. So you'll call in or contact us through the website, and we'll walk you through the process, help you put your financial package together, give you an idea of what the chances of your loan being approved are, and then also giving you feedback on whether you need to reduce the ask or add additional collateral or maybe personally guarantee a loan. Then we'll submit those loans to lenders looking to fund your types of loans in your geographical area. Once we launch the platform, it'll be an app on your phone as well as an automated system online that you can upload documents through our secure data portal, and the system will actually give you instant feedback. Just as we would in person, the system will give you that feedback instantly, saying, hey, if you reduce your loan request by $20,000, you have a 78% chance of approval. And here's the lenders that want to look at your loan.
And then you mentioned personal guarantee. So in some cases that won't be required?
Absolutely. A lot of times on the secondary market, they're non-recourse loans. So they're strictly tied to your business, and you're not having to personal guarantee them. Almost 100% of the loans you get through the bank, you have to personally guarantee.
So now, is there kind of, what if I want to pay it off early? Am I going to get dinged for that? Or is that something that's acceptable in this arrangement?
Yeah. So it's going to depend on the loan type and what your needs are. So when we're going through the filtering process, you'll actually have the opportunity to select if you want to prepay, or if you plan on paying it off early, then we're going to make sure we put you into a loan that doesn't have a prepayment penalty, or structure one that is declining in a way that meets your company's cash flow and financial needs.
So now you mentioned that this idea came about because of your own frustration, or the frustration you became aware of when you were dealing with these folks that were trying to get these loans. How did you come up with the structure to make it easier for folks? Like, was it based on your knowledge of just the industry? You saw ways to kind of simplify the process, or like how did you stumble upon this solution?
It's pretty phenomenal how it came about, actually. And what happened was I built just a standard CRM for the company I was running at the time at Aspen Commercial Lending. And it wasn't automated, but it was exactly this. So it would a broker working for us could go in and search lenders that match the criteria, get guidelines that say, okay, let's put the financial package together for the client like this, and match them up. The one thing that we didn't have when we were doing that was accountability. And if you liken it to the residential lending space now, the government regulated that. So it's very cut and dry. If you meet these criteria, you get a loan. In the commercial lending industry, it's so large and there's so much money changing hands that regulation has been fought off, which is fine. I'm not a big fan of regulation, but there's no accountability for the lenders and no transparency. And so what our system has done is created a progress bar that shows you who has the loan, who's looking at it, what their requirements are, who's responsible for the next step in the process. It creates complete transparency, and then our algorithm actually ranks the lenders based on their performance.
So now, is your client the person looking for the loan, or is your client the lender, or both? They're
both, really. So we're the biggest expense for the lender is business development, right? And so our platform is going to do that for them for free, but at the same time, they have to operate within the guidelines and algorithms of the platform in order to stay on there and show up in search results. By making them accountable for their performance, we're going to get the capital into the hands of the borrowers faster, which is what the lender ultimately wants to do. But they spend so much time right now sifting through the garbage to find the loans that they can fund. We're simply going to say, okay, borrower, don't go to this bank. We're going to send you to a lender on the secondary market that's going to approve this. Or if you do qualify at that bank, the system's going to say, here's the terms that they're approving these types of loans at, and this is how long it takes, so that the borrower has complete and transparent expectations of when they can get their capital and plan for that.
And then from their standpoint, this is something I would imagine, because there's a lot of automation around it, that it's taking days, not months.
Absolutely. One of the largest frustrations in the process as a broker is the time in between communications, and a day, a half a day, hours, sometimes weeks to get documents. And the system will hold all parties accountable to updating those, and actually will put you on the clock when you're the one responsible for providing that, whether you're the borrower or the lender, so that there's no misinterpretation as to who's holding up the loan, and thus speed up the process.
So now, what's your personal best of getting a loan from a person inquiring to getting the money?
3 days is my personal best.
Wow. So that's dramatic.
Yeah.
Now, when this happens and then they go through the process, so the app is taking care of the payments are coming through your system, or at some point you're handing off to the person with the money?
Yeah. So once the loan is funded, it'll come directly from the lender to the client, and they now have the relationship. And that's where our handoff takes place. But everything prior to funding takes place on our platform.
So once it's funded, then the relationship is with the person who needs the money, then directly with the person who has the money.
Correct.
And so what do you need more of right now? Do you need more lenders? You need more people who need money? I would imagine there's a never-ending supply of people who need money.
Yeah, we actually have some great resources, having been in the business for as long as I have, and my partners, Trent and Dan. And so what we're really looking for is some more lenders that want to join the platform on the back end. And we don't charge for those lenders to be on the platform. But what we do is we don't charge for those lenders to be on the platform. But what we do is we will populate their documents and give them access to qualified borrowers, and sift and filter and pre-underwrite those borrowers so that their business development costs are dramatically reduced. They're looking at loans that they already know they want to fund.
Now, is this something that there's different regulations in different states, or is this something that has federal regulations and the states aren't as that have less rules? Like, how does this work in each market?
So this is something where it's not very regulated in terms of states. There are a handful of states where we do have to license the platform in order to be able to fund those commercial loans or certain types of real estate loans in those areas. But as a commercial loan broker, generally, there's not much regulation in terms of who can and cannot do it.
So any state, any entrepreneur in any state can tap into the platform to at least kind of inquire to see what's out there.
100%. Absolutely.
And then is there a fee? Like, say I'm an entrepreneur somewhere and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'd like to get a loan. It would be a nice to have. It's not a must have. Can I go in there and just see what I can get?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's never any charge for that.
And is there am I going to get dinged from a credit reporting standpoint for having gone through this?
No, the only point that your credit's actually pulled, if the lender needs it, once you've accepted the terms, we actually do what's called a soft pull through the automated system. So the system will construct what it believes your credit score to be, and then all of your lenders are sifted based on that. And then when you accept the terms of a lender, that's when it'll be pulled. So at that point, you would get a ding on your credit for a credit pull, but not until you've accepted terms from a lender.
So if somebody wants to learn more, whether they're an entrepreneur who's looking for a loan, or if they're a lender that's looking for a way to maybe save some money on their biz dev costs, what's the website?
Go to www.lendco.us. And that's just LendCo.us, and you'll be able to access, there's some videos, some information, and contact us information on there right now. We're having that website completely revamped, and the new launch will be in the next week. But the current website does have a ton of information about what we're doing and what LendCo can do for you.
Good stuff. Well, JT, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thanks for having me, Lee. I appreciate you, and keep helping small businesses, man. That's what drives this economy.
Amen to that. All right, this is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on High Velocity Radio.